Hi everyone, Julie Rudolph here, a physical therapist at Divergent Rehab and Wellness. I'm here today with Kyle or Coach L from Freedom Run Club down in Florida. So today we really wanted to introduce each other and learn more about what each of us does. So we'll start it off that way and then just kind of see where things go. Does that sound good, Kyle?
Sounds great to me.
Awesome. So why don't you kind of dive into a little bit more about yourself, your background there, and then I'll follow with mine.
Sounds great. Yeah. Coach Kyle, Coach L, Coach LaGiacono, all those ones work for me. Yeah, I'm the head director of training for Freedom Running Club here, based in Tampa. Work with people all over the place, and distance running's been my passion since I can remember. Remember just doing runs with my dad when I was in middle school, and he still runs and everything. So kind of fell in love with it a long time ago. Ran in high school here in the Tampa area, and then ran at Florida State after that. And the real big thing that shaped my coaching and my philosophy on everything was my senior year at Florida State was unfortunately cut short because I got an injury that really should have only been a month at best, and I kept thinking it wasn't so bad, kept trying to push through something that should have easily been fixable, and didn't listen to my body. And that's the number
Mhm.
one thing I always talk to my clients about is if you're feeling something, definitely let us know. Don't try to hide anything. Don't try to be a hero on your regular Tuesday run or your weekend long
Mhm.
run. Definitely let us know what's going on in all of those cases because if it's something that's normal, your coach, your PT, whoever you're working with is there to help design to help you through those processes, make sure that it's normal, or if it's something that's a little bit abnormal that we should worry about. And that really cut my entire senior season, not just cross country, but track completely off the table. Took about a year or so off from running, and then really rediscovered that passion for it. Coach specifically at a local high school here, and have been working with clients in the personal coaching realm here for about 13 years total. As young as middle school, my two oldest clients are 71-year-olds, so kind of that whole big age range for people. And I really just believe in that very sustainable, progressive training. Where are you today? How can we build you to that next step and not try to skip steps along the way? Because that's where people I think really do get
Mhm.
in trouble, where they tend to get into issues where they try to take that next step. They see somebody on Strava or some run influencer trying to do something that they're not prepared for and didn't realize all the steps that person took to get to that place. And it's a little cliche you hear people say, but everyone's running journey is different and your stage of the running journey is going to be different from somebody else's. And that's something I like to
Mhm.
always work with is how can I meet you where you are today and help you run and get to those goals? So that's really my general story. I did just start. I was really focusing more on 5K running myself personally. Can never run those times anymore because speed power does go down as we get a little bit older. And I just celebrated my 39th birthday here a couple days ago, actually. So I'm more in the realm of marathon training now. I'm getting ready for the Chicago Marathon here in just under a month. And so that's kind of my new challenges. Not only do I'm training people for all those different races, I run everything from a fast 1500 meter on the track to a marathon. So all those different stages and there's all those different challenges people are trying to get through and better themselves and I'm trying to help them every step of the way to get to that point. So that's my background. Julie, I'd love to hear some more about your background and your coaching and your training philosophy as well.
Hey, thank you for coming to check out our video here today. If you would like to learn more about rehab and running, feel free to check out our Skool community, which you can find in the description below. Yeah, well, thank you, Kyle, and happy birthday, belated birthday. I'm
Thank you.
also 39, so we are
Oh,
on
wow.
our like our last year of 30s.
The best thing for a distance runner about being 39 is
Yeah.
you age up and you get different time standards for different
Yeah,
races. So,
that's true. And I saw you qualified for Boston, right? So
yes,
you're
yes,
like,
and yeah, I did, and I'm hoping to get qualified again here in my next race. So, but yeah, it gets a little easier. I get an extra 5 minutes here in Chicago.
yeah, nice. There you go. That's huge. Yeah, I've looked into Chicago. just not ready for it yet, but I'll be doing Carmel here, local in the spring,
Very cool.
actually on my 40th birthday weekend.
Wow,
So
that's
I
fantastic. It
know.
was meant to be that weekend then.
Yeah, so I have to do it.
Yes.
And we could probably talk all day about marathon training and everything. But yeah, okay, I'll jump into a little bit about myself. Obviously working at Divergent Rehab and Wellness here in Indiana, in Carmel, Indiana. Um, Going back to God, how I first got into things, same kind of similar to you. My dad was a big runner. Both my parents were, but my dad was the one I used to run with a lot. Um, and then just got into running in middle school and high school, and just loved it. And then that took me into, college at University of Delaware, and then, then on to Drexel University for physical therapy program. I don't think you ever know what you really want to do when you go into those programs, because then you realize there's so much to it, not just what you know as outpatient orthopedic. There's a ton of different areas. So you start to figure out who you are and what you tend to drift more toward. And it kind of solidified that I like outpatient orthopedics, the acute care, all those things. Working at SNFs and just different facilities. I always enjoyed it because I love helping people, but what I really enjoy is the outpatient ortho world. Um, so we came out to Indiana about 3 years ago for my husband's job, and it was a good time to kind of make a change with my two boys. I tend to lead with I'm a physical therapist, but I'm more mom right now. That's kind of where my priorities have shifted. um, and then keep myself obviously working as much as I can in the physical therapy world and running too, and trying to kind of mesh everything together. So always worked for, the hospital systems, private practice back east, and really learned a lot from those clinicians, and just the area I worked in. So I saw a lot. I mean, 10 plus years of just everything you can think of. And toward the end, before we moved, I knew I wanted to do more with runners and lower extremity and those kind of things. But I just didn't have the time. You had to keep seeing your full caseload of other things too. So we came out to Indiana and met up with Michael, the owner of Divergent. He said, do what you want. So I decided, okay, let's start going more the running route and pelvic floor as well, with having had two kids. So that's kind of been my focus the last couple years. I've learned a lot working with runners. I've failed in certain ways because, I just didn't realize what I didn't know with trying to help. Now, after doing a lot more reading, research, taking courses, I look back and I'm like, oh, there's probably something I could have totally done different with that person. So it's helped to shape me into the therapist I am now. With working with runners and the pelvic health, pelvic floor population as well. So that's been my focus. After having kids, or during and after kids, I kind of put my running on hold. I just really struggled with it, and I would say I had very little injury prior to kids, and after was really when I struggled. So getting back into running was hard. Um, just this past 6 months, I've been able to do a lot more. I've signed up for things and have had to like bail out, defer because I'm just not ready, or I do it and I don't feel great. So this year now I finally feel like I'm like consistently running. So I'm excited to get back into marathon, half marathon, now that my life is better balanced. So,
It's funny you
um,
say that too. That's really the biggest thing is, that being able to do it, fitting it into your lifestyle. And that's something that I'm big on. I know you guys are big on, is making sure that it fits into, your plan fits into somebody's lifestyle, because it's great to make somebody a plan, but if they can't complete it because of their lifestyle and everything, their work-life balance, it just becomes more frustrating. So I know that's something that we're both really big on too, is making it work for somebody's situation.
yeah, definitely. And I think when you go through things yourself, I think being a runner helps, so what it takes. not that you need to be one working with runners, but you just know how much time and what it's going to take and how you feel. So it just you're relatable, right, to your patients or clients. So yeah, it's definitely been a journey, but I find it really fun working with runners. And I'm sure, you'd probably say the same. And looking at like you've gone through a lot of training
I,
with.
I, yeah, I was gonna say you brought something up in yours that I completely just glossed over. I really love the science of how humans adapt to this. I really got addicted to it. In fact, I was one of those kids that really didn't like science because didn't see the practical purpose of it until I saw this, and I was like, whoa, like this is amazing. Humans actually, adapt in a very specific way. Those are the rules of the game. So I really do love staying up to date on the science of it, and it does constantly change and evolve. And
Mhm.
I really pride myself in going out and getting the latest. I'm currently getting the level 2 certification through the Roadrunners Club of America, but USATF, IAAF, NASM. I love all those different takes on it and looking at the science and trying to use those as the rules to the game, and then dealing with the actual person to figure out how these rules kind of apply to them and their situation. So yeah, I'm a really big believer in the science of it coming first, knowing, if you're getting ready for a marathon, what actually is going to help you, and then figuring out
Mhm.
what are the most important things that you can actually get into. So yeah, I absolutely love that. And thank you for bringing that up because you were saying it, I was like, wow, yeah, that's exactly, I feel the same way about making sure that up to date on the science of it and everything.
Yeah, and it's really hard to keep up with all those things.
Yes.
And and luckily you find people who like love doing that stuff, and they're putting out research, and they're in groups, and they're just pushing those things and making you aware of it, which is great, right? So that you have someone kind of helping to keep things on the radar. You're just going to make time to read it. um
Exactly.
Out of everything you've been through with your training, what do you feel like was the most helpful for you, or is it all just different?
It's funny you say that because it really it does come down to you'd mentioned it's almost those, I don't want to say failures, but it's those things where you did the absolute best with the situation you have that pushes you to even move forward. It's the same thing, like you have a bad race and you want to go back and do it better. I remember very
Mhm.
specifically I had a couple clients who ran fantastic times, state medalists. They were younger clients at this point. It was when I was just coming out of just the high school side of it, and couldn't quite hit the times at the end of the season that they wanted to. And that's what really drove me to, first, it was the USA track and field. I think that they were really kind of the cutting edge in terms of the science when it comes to coaching. And then
Mhm.
it's just kind of amazing how like the different takes on it. Roadrunners Club of America tends to be a little bit more of your busy professionals, those, your more, your 30s, 40s plus runners, and taking that same kind of spin on the science, being like, wow, that's this just for a different group, and really kind of
Okay.
saying, how can VO2 max training work for a 55-year-old dentist in Idaho, those
Mhm.
kinds of different things, and really kind of applying it. But it really did kind of start I wouldn't even necessarily say 100% failure, because like I said, some of those clients, those very first clients I had were succeeding, but I look back at it now and I was like, wow, what I know now, and what I know now because of going through that and the experience of all of that, really did shape me into this, and drives me to keep kind of playing around with it and not being satisfied with, if I have a client I've been working with for a couple of years, what worked for them last training cycle needs to be tweaked and updated, because not only did the science change, their fitness change, their everything change. So
Mhm.
the only constant is, how these things evolve and change over time. And so I'm really excited by that all the time. But it really did start with the USA track and field training, and then really was like, how does this apply to different people, different groups? Because there's different coaches that are working with different clientele, and
Mhm.
how does it work for them to do the same, using those same rules, the science, for a different group of people.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. When you said someone in Idaho, right? And you're seeing obviously people kind of all over,
Yeah.
the states, and maybe different countries too.
Yes, yes.
So taking into thinking about what's different there, the weather, the altitude, all those things. So that's a lot to keep all of that
Yeah, and even from
separated.
yeah, and even from like what you're doing in terms of, virtual clientele and things like that, all of those things are different. It was funny, I was doing my own training this morning and I was doing a speed workout that you would normally associate it with like a track. And I'm doing it in the parking lot at a place that's just kind of like not used at the beginning of the day and did a short little like quick recap video for my own sake and own people to be like, hey, work with the situation you've got. I'm here in a parking
Mhm.
lot on a random Thursday morning because all the tracks are not available. What works for someone's situation is for their situation. And you always have to kind of like deal with what someone's situation is in the same way that you've got so many different people coming in seeing you for different issues and you have
Mhm.
to kind of like adapt things for them. And I'm sure you've got, a lot of different cases where you've seen that as well. But is there something that's really kind of stood out for you in terms of your development that you can think of too that's shaped you in the same way?
Yeah, I think it is sitting down with that person and just figuring out their lifestyle, what's going to work for them. I thinking back over my career, that's probably where I feel like I made the most progress, and then getting to a point now where, that is my focus of my sessions is just the first session at least, or second or third depending what the person needs, but spending a good amount of time just talking to them so I know everything about them in order to help them, right? Because if I give them something that, yeah, they're not going to be able to do, or it's just time consuming, then it's going to be more overwhelming than it's going to be helpful for them. So that's probably the biggest thing I would say, and everyone's different. Obviously, I'm seeing people in Indiana, so there's consistency there, right? So it's kind of takes away obviously all the other things that you're dealing with. So there's some things that are very similar that I don't have to worry about as much. But if they're traveling somewhere, right? Like I've had a lot of people going to Europe this fall and wondering how they can keep their rehab going, because they're not totally out of the woods, but also going to be doing a lot of activity, and you want them to enjoy it. So,
Yes.
do something, but keep things moving and feeling good, but also enjoy that what you're doing out there. So,
One,
yeah,
one, one of the big things I always say with my clients whenever they're asking things is like, it depends, right? They
yeah,
ask for one right answer and it does make it more fun, but doesn't make it so cut and dry, right? It depends.
mhm.
Depends on someone's situation, where they're coming from. And it sounds like it's very similar how you're dealing with this. There's no one size fits all for any of these. It's the right format, the right situation for the person.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, and you're obviously in Florida, so the weather there is probably hot. Is it humid now? Is it humid all year
Yeah,
round?
it's funny. It's been fantastic here, and I know you guys are gonna find this funny. It's been like 72, 73 in the morning, which is like a beautiful cold front for us.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it actually got into the 60s last week, which is amazing. But yeah, dealing with different groups and different ages and everything too, making sure that, heat adaptation is there,
Mhm.
different ages. The younger athletes and the older athletes tend to be much more impacted negatively by heat. Female athletes are more negatively impacted by heat than male athletes, and that's all going very general because then you have to figure out, is this someone that's a little bit outside the box with this? And if you're doing a long run on the hottest day of the year, probably not the way to do it. How can we adapt that for you? Should we move
Yeah.
it to another day? Should we do half this run outside and half this run on a treadmill if you have access to it and adapting it? So that's a big thing. Here, obviously, we don't have the issue in terms of like cold up there for a lot of our clients because we're about half of our clients are here in Tampa and about half are elsewhere. But yeah, that client I was mentioning that I'm currently working with in Idaho, it was a little tricky over the winter time and making sure that they were getting what they needed. And I remember specifically having a conversation about slipping on ice when they were
Mhm.
running outside and just adapting things. But yeah, that's what makes it fun is it's not the same for everybody. It's all going to be different and what worked for one person in one situation, even though there could be some generalities in terms of life, health, goals, things like that. It's still going to be a very different journey for everybody. So yeah, but those are some of the more common things that I'm seeing on a daily basis. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Very cool. No, that's great. I mean, we could definitely talk all day about each other.
Yeah.
And but I think maybe the next topic that we could cover in the future would be, about, I think we touched on that now, is work-life balance,
Yeah.
sustainability, how lifestyle factors, stress, all those things, anything you think of is going to have an impact on the runner,
Yeah.
whether on the rehab side or on the kind of on the coaching side.
Yep. That's
Um,
sustainable progress. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really looking forward to chatting about that in our next video. Yeah.
awesome. Well, thank you, Kyle.
My pleasure, Julie. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for checking out our video here. If you're looking to learn more about rehab, anything running related, feel free to head over to our Skool community. It's all free. There are videos there that you can check out, absorb more content, as well as information about us. And you can find that link in the description below.